moving on now, let's connect with the IPO corner, or rather should I say now the new debutants on Dalal Street. CAMS has today listed at a 23% premium. So let's understand the future strategy, the outlook, what can the new investors of CAMS expect from the company. We have with us Anuj Kumar, the CEO of CAMS. Mr. Kumar, thank you so much for joining us today on ET Now. So congratulations, it looks like a pretty strong premium, that CAMS has started listing. If you could just give us your initial sense, your response to the response you've received for the IPO.
Well, I would say it's a moment of a lifetime. We just got done with the listing ceremony. Of course, it's a limited participation. Physically, not too many people are allowed. But we were streaming it live, and therefore, I'm sure all our well-wishers, clients, stakeholders, employees, ex-employees, all those kind of people have been watching this. So like I said, it's a moment of a lifetime. I absolutely was waiting for this all these past months. We started the prep work almost 15 months back. So it's the culmination of all of that, and I'm very excited and very joyous on this occasion. But I must also say that we are cognizant that business must go on, and we've got to go back and deliver to our clients and now deliver to our investors in the same committed fashion that we've done over the past 30 years. I think that's the kind of specific, committed, diligent, workhorse kind of mentality that we've imbued the company with, and that is what we got to focus on.
What is your message to investors who are worried about Q1 EBITDA contraction of 24% and revenue being flat?
I would say when you look at 1Q, you're looking at almost the peak of the COVID crisis, especially the months of April and May. And like I'd said in the past, there were 2-3 things which happened in that period which kind of accentuated this entire trend. One, of course, was the physical selling process in the mutual funds industry almost stopped because all physical locations were shut. Investors were not doing sit-down meetings with their advisors to move ahead with their investment plans. And the markets had come down, the indices had come down, and there were mark-to-market contractions. Within that, I think we've done well in 1Q, just given the context. And the comeback in the assets has been significant after that period. So if you take June, July, August, the comeback in the assets, both on the debt and the liquid side, has been very marked, and both those classes have come back to the pre-COVID state, which was in Jan-Feb. Equity, the selling process has started. If we just see the traffic coming to our front offices, the number of participants we are seeing registering afresh and coming in with requests, that's almost 60%, 65% of the past pre-COVID phase. So our expectation is that this trend, as the scare of the pandemic eases and people learn to live with it, things will get better and better. And like I said, for two core asset classes, debt and liquid, we're almost back to the state that we were at pre-COVID.
What is the kind of number that we can look at in FY21?
So I don't have a specific guidance on the numbers right now. Of course, the second quarter is now closing, and we will be back with you with the results. But all I would say is that our revenues have been closely tied to the mutual fund AUMs. Mutual fund AUMs, like I said, in the period 2015 to 20 have grown a CAGR of 18%. And so long as that trend continues, and there is every evidence that that participation, especially now with the digital formats of engaging with customers, digital selling, curated list of funds, a lot of just curated data on what you should invest in. With that being the enabler, there are new investor classes coming in. The youth, including the 21 to 30 age group, is now participating steadily. So our belief is that mutual fund AUM growth should come back to be in tune with the mid to high teens kind of character it showed in the last 5 years. Given the fact that our revenues are closely tied to that trend, we are expecting our results to mirror what they were in the past.
All right. Well, what about margins? What are the current margin levels, and where are they headed?
Right. So you would have seen that just in terms of EBITDA, in good years, we deliver the high 30s, which is about 37, 38, 39. But it's a good defensive position because even in bad years, we would seldom fall below 30. Our expectation is that as AUMs increase, as some of the advantage of scale comes back to us, As we continue to automate our processes and make them significantly untouched by hand, both from a risk and an efficiency perspective, there is every possibility that we will keep margins here in the high 30s, and of course take some money back into the offering to continue enriching the offering, which, like I've said in the past, is philosophically one of the pillars on which the entire business is constructed. So for the future, while I don't want to make a specific comment, we certainly see the kind of margin trajectory you've seen in the past year, which is high 30s.
Okay. What about some of the newer businesses of the company that were incubated post the mutual fund business? Where are those headed?
So like you know, almost 87% of the company revenue comes from the mutual fund business. The other 13% has been diversified over the last about a decade. And within that, our insurance repository offering, CAMSPay, which is a payment platform, and our AIF and PMS offering are all three exciting businesses. We continue to invest in them. Both the platform and the overall sales and market outreach programs are now fairly well functional and very mature. So we expect that those three businesses will continue scaling over a period of time. Of course, they will be kind of limited by what the marketplace can offer. But within that, we are very excited about those three. They are typical B2B, platform-based, technology-oriented businesses, which has been our sweet spot.
So let's just talk about, a little longer term picture. CAMS has about 70% market share in this segment. How have you achieved this? Is it possible to scale beyond this level? What is the moat and probably, the uniqueness of the company?
Right. So this market share situation has played out over 25 years. So it's not a 5 or 7 or 10-year phenomenon. At the core of the entire design is the fact that the mutual fund RTA business runs like a large shared service. And because it's a large shared service, there is no economic or operational sense in any asset manager trying to do this work themselves. You only have to look at one data point there, and that one data point is that every mutual fund in India outsources this work, each one of them. Nobody tries to do it themselves. One mutual fund used to do that, and they are now outsourcing too. So it's a 100% outsourced market. And within that, while it was very splintered till 15 years back, over a period of time, there's been a bit of consolidation. And it was about a 3-player market till about 2 years back, now down to 2 players. Within that, we've incremented market share for almost 15 years steadily. And like I've been telling you, not specifically through churn of clients, etc., but mostly because our clients have succeeded in selling more. So we know we have a defensive position. We also know that mutual funds are very happy and fully invested in this model, and that is the reason all of them buy, nobody makes. And in the future, we expect that with the greater infusion of technology, processes being more complex, regulation becoming more and more demanding, and the customer becoming more demanding, the logic and the business sense to do it in an outsourced model will continue getting strengthened. Within that, we've been the bigger player for a length of time now, almost 20 years. So we expect that trend to continue.